So we are inclusion/resource special ed teachers at Greendale Elementary School. We work in K through 5. I know that we have several friends that are just resource teachers for multiple disabilities in our school and in our county and other counties as well. And they've shared some of their resources with us as well. And I think the last thing that I'd kind of said is we do not have it all together. We don't pretend to have it all together. These are just some things that we've either found or someone shared with us, and it's been working for us, so we want to share it with you guys.
And I think the most important thing that we through all of this in the virtual learning setting, just working together, and how the cliche quote of teamwork makes the dream work, that's absolutely the only thing that's kept us together during all this time. So utilize all your resources, any and every person in your building or in your county that you can. Absolutely share things with one another, because that is what's truly kept us afloat during all this.
Absolutely. So just kind of a quick overview of what we're going to talk about within this next hour is how we kind of got started and got our hands in whenever we were told, hey, you're not going hybrid, you're actually going to start virtual, which I know that we're a little late in the game. We're now going to be switching to more of a hybrid model. I'm not sure what your county's doing right now, but we hope that everything we shared today would be useful for hybrid, in-person, virtual. So we're going to talk about several different things, the platforms that we have been using that are successful, just some secret things in Zoom that we have discovered that are super helpful. We love visuals, so we've kind of packed a lot of visuals into this and the visuals that we use. Accommodations, our sensory stuff, and Rachel's already hit teamwork. And then we're going to have some time at the end because we want to hear what you guys are using. That's been fantastic, and any questions that you might have for us. So how we kind of all just got started is, it takes a schedule. It's kind of that first week nightmare, whether you're in person or whether you're virtual, you have to make that schedule for special ed teachers. And usually the way that we were building our schedule is the whole school built their schedule, and then Rachel and I, we worked around that. What we have found with the virtual learning and with even going hybrid and having some of our kids in is they sat down and said, okay, who are your kids that receive services? What do they need right now during this virtual platform, this virtual learning? And we're going to work around yours. So we built a special ed schedule of maybe when kids could come in and see us for a minimal amount of time, when we would be serving them on Zoom or through Google Meets. And then the classroom teachers built their Zoom schedules, their groupings around us. And what we have found is from starting inside out has been very effective for our children. And it's really working with classroom teachers too. And we've never started from the inside out, and which we didn't care either way. But now that we're taking these kids that have the most needs and starting and putting them on the focal point and building around that, it's really been a good thing. And we made our schedules, and then we immediately got them out to classroom teachers because they needed to build theirs. So I'm sure by now you've probably already built a schedule, but that's just kind of where we got started of, okay, who can we serve in person? Who can we only Zoom with? And once we kind of sifted through and divided out, we got out to classroom teachers, and it just made sense.
And where our students have a limited amount of time that they can come in or that they can Zoom with us, it was really important for us, as you can see here, to make our schedules back to back. So on the left, you can see Miss Nunley's schedule, and on the right, you can see mine, and that's for reading and math. And they switch within our room and rotate within our room. And it was important for us to be able to serve both things in the quickest time we can, their greatest need, back to back, so we can get them while they're in class or while we have them on a Zoom. And then we went from there. So that kind of helped to making sure that we grouped them together and could get working the schedule where we could get them in that way.
And it reduces your traffic too. For the amount of people coming in and out of your room, and having to clean between each group, which we'll talk about later. So it just kind of made sense as far as just flip-flopping certain grade levels. So we just kind of recommend starting a schedule from special ed and then working your way out. And these schedules just make us so happy because they're so colorful.
Yes, and what we really found important here was for the special ed team, the gen ed teachers, the parents, and the students to all have the same schedule for the student in their hand at all times. So we made this colorful schedule, which was made us so terribly happy. And we love the visuals on it. So for a lot of our kids, we have several non-readers. So the visuals that we put in there were really important. So we picked a student to show you guys that has a lot of service time. She's one of the greatest needs in our building. So you can see here she's got her classroom aide, which is the slot that says Kittrell. And she comes in and works with her, and it was important for us to make sure that she could keep that relationship with her one-on-one aide. And then from there, she moves to speech. And then after that, she goes to reading with Nunley and then math with Van Dyke. And we ended up having to put her OT time at the end of the day at the clinic. But we wanted to show you one where we had the greatest needs student with this schedule. So the visuals on it were super important for us.
Yeah, and if you're wondering, how did they get emojis into Google Docs? Well, I had to ask someone because I didn't know how to do it either, but you just go to insert in Google Docs at the top, and then it says symbols, and when you click that, you can open up and there's different types of symbols, and one says emojis. It's beautiful.
Yes, and we found that this helped even today as we were teaching. Today we had a student where we couldn't remember where he went next, so we just very quickly popped this schedule up and we were able to see where he went next, who he went with, and it's just really helpful to have all these schedules for each student in the same place.
Yeah, and the parents even have said too, just having something super quick and, you know, that sticks out to them, like to put on the fridge, it's easy to kind of know because, you know, I know as teachers, our schedules are crazy. So just think, you know, some of these kiddos with related services, they are going in so many different directions. So we love the emojis into the schedules. Just some other things that we kind of created. On your left, you're going to see procedures and expectations. We came up with this because we customized it to our school. We are a small school. We were able to have the opportunity to have some of our kids with services into our building while we've been virtual. So we knew we needed procedures because everything was going to look different from them. And we are going to share all of our slides with you all after this is over. You can take it and you can just take our Bitmojis out and put your name in. We don't mind at all. But we did this just so parents could have some sort of a guideline of what needed to happen in order for us to make it work to allow kids into the building, which, you know, it's everything from where to park, you know, a temperature is going to be taken, the mask must be worn at all times, and just kind of, you know, numbers to contact us. So that's kind of where we started whenever we received word that kiddos could come into our building.
And then after that, we had one for a virtual class, and that was made by one of our teachers at Greendale, Miss Dwyer. She made this, and we customized it to suit our needs. So we used our school theme, and this was super easy for her to make in Google Slides, and we just included some rules about how we can be respectful while we're online, whether it be on Zoom, Google Meet, or whatever platform you use to meet with your students live. So there's different things on here that tells the students how to behave and what is good behavior, because they know how to behave in the classroom for the most part. They've been with us for a long time. It's easy when you're face to face, but when these students get on their own, a lot of them are behind the camera by themselves. And they forget that we can see them slouching down. We can see them laying down in their seat, all the things that they're doing. So it was really important for us to give them expectations right from the get-go. And then, of course, we made it visual again. We're all about these visuals for our kids. How to behave when they're online. A lot of them would sleep till 12 or noon in the day and they weren't at school. And you know, that was what happened back when this all first started. But now that this is actually reality for us, it was important that they had a set schedule and they knew all of the things that they normally did at school needed to happen at home too. And we just used our theme, and our thing at Greendale is respectful, responsible, ready to learn, even when we're virtual. So I thought this was really neat. Ms. Dwyer's created this and sent it out to all of us. So I think that one of these would be great to fit your school theme and whatever your needs are.
Yeah. Mr. Dwyer hooked us up.
And then as far as this one, I absolutely cannot stress enough that documenting every single move that we make as SPED teachers is one of the most important things that we can do.
Which we're sure everybody knows that.
Absolutely. and especially now while we're virtual. So we just shared a picture here of our communication log that we have. So everything here, you put the date, the person you spoke to, why you called them, what form that you did. And I know you guys know that a lot of times you'll have a student you can't get a hold of, and that's when something like this is really important, because that parent could come back and say, well, you didn't serve my child at all while we were virtual. And that's when I would pull this up and I would say, well, these are all the times that I Zoomed, that I emailed, that I called, every contact attempt that I made for that I have right in front of me at all times. And I think that is absolutely key for special ed. And of course, you all know this, but it became even more important to us when we did have to go virtual.
And that's one thing that the counties kind of provided us that we followed through. But on your right side of the screen, you're going to see something that we created. I highly recommend this if you are an inclusion / resource special ed teacher like we are, because we were having kiddos come in the building and classroom teachers were like, so-and-so was absent today. They didn't show up on Zoom. They haven't submitted an assignment. So Rachel was like, well, let's create an attendance sheet in Google, and we shared it with classroom teachers. So we made a list of our caseload, and it's just the dates. You can see it's very simple. We just put an X when they're there, and if they're not there, we called and to find out why they weren't. And we've even noticed, like, we keep it pulled up on our computers during the day as we have kids coming in on the computer or in the building, and we mark them, and we've noticed that our classroom teachers, we can see that they're up looking at it too. That way they know, okay, you know, let's see, Rachel, she came in to be with Miss Nunley today. I'm going to count her present, even though she didn't attend my Zoom, but she's already completed the work for her. So it was, we even had classroom teachers tell us, hey, thanks for doing that, because we weren't getting contact with parents, but it shows that you guys have. And they were able to mark it off, because if we're being honest, classroom teachers are really stretched thin right now. So whatever we can do as SPED teachers to support them and to make it easier, I think it's definitely worth it.
And our kiddos, a lot of them have been with us the entire time. So they already have really good relationships with Laura and I, versus they were thrown into a situation with a brand new classroom teacher that some of them probably never even got to see face to face. So it's a lot easier for them to say, hey, I have to be with Miss Nunley and Miss Van Dyke today, but they might not have quite the relationship with their classroom teacher yet. So they may not be showing up for all their Zooms like they typically would in person. So that's when the classroom teacher would look to us and say, well, did they show up for you today? And of course, this helps us count them present or absent for the day.
So one thing, you know, as special ed teachers, that frequent and immediate feedback for our kids, and it's really hard when they're not face to face with you, when there's miles separating you from your kiddos, but it's still important to give them that feedback on how they did that day, or just to kind of follow up with them. So one thing, and we're all about visuals, just giving them something simple in a Google form through your Google Classroom, whatever platform you're using, a smiley face to let them know that all their work was completed. If they're missing something, you know, it's more of the middle line smile. And then if they didn't complete any work, you know, because I think sometimes a kid needs to see the visuals, because we have so many that are, you know, not necessarily non-readers, but just struggle, you know, with reading complete sentences. And I think the visual obviously would let them know, okay, my teacher's a little bit happy with me, but I must be missing something because it's not a full smile. And another thing, as far as the feedback, after Zooms, you can break off into breakout sessions, or you can ask a kid to stay online and then just immediately go over if Johnny was struggling that day paying attention, or you know, if someone did something really well, you can just give them that immediate feedback as soon as the lesson's over. I know one thing too, you have to be careful about your Zoom settings, because you don't want them to have the access of being able to log off before you do. And Rachel will go a little bit over some setting things that we've looked at, but just something simple as a smiley face, you did great, or making yourself available for certain Zoom times during the day. I know our classroom teachers have been doing that. And as two kids of my own at home, I know that my 5th grader, he had a question about science. And I was like, well, let's go to your Google Classroom. Oh, your teacher is available right now to Zoom if you need to. Click that link and Zoom with her. I mean, so that was, very positive for him to just be able to have that interaction, and she was right there when he needed him. So the same thing for us, just that immediate feedback.
Absolutely. And what I've been doing for some of my classroom teachers is to take a little bit of the load off of them. I've been making a lot of the phone calls for my students for math, but also email reminders of missing assignments have been really good for them. And I also just tag their I CC their parent in it so their parent can go home and see, because I know a lot of our kids are working at home, or mom's in the other room working, and they're with a babysitter. So mom and dad may not see exactly what they're doing. And it's easy for one of our kids to say, yeah, I did all my work today. But just letting them know ahead of time that they're missing assignments and doing that quickly has really helped, because once they get behind, our kids have a bad habit of, well, I've already missed 20 assignments and I'll never make those up now. So what's the use in me even trying? Well, these daily feedbacks and reminders of what you're missing or how you did or something that you're not understanding has been really beneficial.
Yeah. And if you guys have anything that you feel is working right now for student feedback virtually, you can put it in the comments, or you can just send it to us. Well, I think the comment thing should be on. Just definitely shoot that, because I want us to just learn from everybody for this next hour and share any tips that you might have as well as ours. So what everyone has heard since March the 13th is find your virtual platform and use it well. Or if you are in a certain county, it might be you're going to use Schoology or Google Classroom, or I think Seesaw is one. Smith County uses Seesaw. So we have hands down the coolest principal ever at Greendale Elementary School. And she basically said, we're going to work smarter and not harder. So we're all going to have the same platform. We're going to decide what's best. And we kind of just, as a faculty, said, we're going with Google Classroom. It's what we know. We've used it, some since March. So we're going with it. So that's what our school uses. I don't know if you all as special ed teachers have felt like we have, but at first, and I'll say it, I'll be honest, for me, I thought, why do I need to have a Google Classroom? That's just another classroom that, a struggling kid is going to have to be accountable for logging in, checking assignments. So Rachel and I kind of thought, okay, how can we have a virtual platform and not be overwhelming to the kids and be supportive for classroom teachers? So the first thing that we did was we asked for access to our team teachers' Google Classroom. So they've made us admins in their Google Classroom. So we can see assignments, we can see when our kiddos have submitted stuff, which is beautiful. So definitely ask your gen ed teachers, hey, can I have access to your Google Classroom? That way I can see if Johnny has submitted X, Y, and Z. But here is how we're going to show you how we use our virtual platforms as a support for our kids with special needs. Rachel's a pro.
And I know not everyone is using the same platform. Not everyone is using Google Classroom. So you can kind of take some of these tips and use them for whatever virtual platform that you have. And if you're an expert in Schoology or you have tips for Schoology, leave those in the comments too, because there may be others on here that are using that same platform. But I'll show you a little bit of how we use ours. So like Laura said, the majority of what we do is we have to be co-teachers in the classroom teachers' classrooms, and that's been very instrumental for us. And I wanted to show you one thing on the stream. So this is our stream that we use, and we only use this for reminders. So what we did here was we went up to settings, and we go down to our stream, classwork on the stream. You need to hide your notifications. That's really important.
We repeat, hide notifications.
Yes, and you can have certain emails come to students and parents of what you post, and that's all going to be on the settings page, because if they're overwhelmed with 45 emails a day, every time that you click a button, they're not going to read your emails anymore, and they're going to miss your important things. So that's where you would do that in settings, and I'm sure Schoology has a similar feature. So on the stream, all we do here is we post reminders, we post little comments that we have. Laura loves jokes of the day, so that's where something like this would go. And then we move over to our classwork. And I wanted to show you this, and this looks crazy from my teacher view, but each one of these assignments is only posted to specific students. So they don't see it quite like I do. They only see what is posted to them. So from my view, and I'll show you what I have here. Here's one student that is a resource kiddo. So she is getting all of her instruction from me and Miss Nunley. She's getting nothing from classroom teachers as far as on a virtual platform. So her assignments are posted in my Google Classroom, and it has here what she needs to do. Very short, concise directions, and that's something that I've even had to chat with a classroom teacher or two and say, you know, my kiddos are really struggling with these big, long paragraphs of instructions. So very short, concise instructions is really important for special education kids. And I just numbered them 1, 2, 3. They have 3 things that they need to do in here. And you can see that this student has turned it in. And even a good thing that you could do here is you could video your instructions, what you want them to do for that day, and post it in there as well. So that's what I do for a resource kiddo. And as far as our inclusion kids who are receiving their instruction and their assignments from classroom teachers, this is where I would post just their Zoom links, extra resources or videos for them. So you can see here we've got some of our kids' Zoom links that we have on Monday and Friday. And I post them here, and this is where the kid, Miss Nunley, and myself all access the Zoom links.
This is super cool.
And they're in the same place every week, every time. So there's no confusion of where they are. They don't have to dig through their emails. So we posted them on our platform for them to see at all times.
Oh, is that where? But it's linked.
It is linked. Yep. So they can just click on it, and they can click the link here, and they can, this student missed that day. So I posted a couple of videos for them to watch where they missed. So that's kind of how we use our platform. And I will let Laura show you her Google Slides.
So since we are co-hosts for Zoom links, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. That's what I was saying, which is really cool. So whenever Rachel and I are flip-flopping a group that's on Zoom, we are both co-hosts, and we'll show you how to do that in a minute. But since that was already posted on Rachel's, there was no need to double up and post them on mine. So I use a Google slide that I have shared to my Google Classroom, but the only thing really that's there is this slide. So our fantastic PE teacher, Coach O, is so amazing at hyperlinking things, and she showed us how to do that. And I'll quickly show you in case you don't already know. But in mine, it's very, just everything is kind of live. So you can click the lava lamp, and it's going to take you to a sensory center. I'm only phonics and reading, where Rachel does math. So I've got our reading resources in there as well. We use Epic Reading as a great accommodation for read aloud and STAR testing. And then I've got my Spire resources are linked to the letter tiles that are there as well. So we keep everything in there together. So that's how I use mine at first. Before we had linked our Zooms, I had my Zoom links on here as well. But just a calendar to what they have coming up. And of course, you just can't go wrong with the Bitmoji. And I will say it again, y'all, kids love Bitmojis. They get so tickled. We love Bitmojis as teachers. We get tickled. So I highly recommend throw in a Bitmoji. It's really fun. It doesn't matter how old or how long you've been teaching. Make your Bitmoji. And it's an extension on Google. I just learned that last week. But it's really cool. So I use the Google Slides and make it interactive for just additional accommodations and resources for our kids. So that's how my virtual platform is more supportive for our inclusion kiddos, because most of the time they're responsible for their gen ed teachers' work. So we have this as kind of a support.
And Penny, I just saw your comment. Yes, we did use fake student names for our presentation. So we're not giving out any information, not breaking confidentiality. Thanks for your comment, though.
Yes, we had fun making those up as well.
We did.
Okay, so that's how we use our virtual platforms. Technology.
All right, so we use Zoom, and I know a lot of people use Zoom. If you use Google Meet, you can kind of adapt what we say here to suit your needs. So again, we have that schedule, as you can see there, and this would be students that I serve. Some of them are just for me, students that Miss Nunley serves, and this is just how we would flip-flop those kids around. And one thing that we found super helpful is our students are logging on and off to so many different videos and whatever platform you're using, that it was really important for us for them to not have to log off of mine and then find Miss Nunley's, log on to hers, and of course that takes more of their time, and we have a limited amount of screen time. So what we found in Zoom that was super helpful was I can create my Zoom and I can add Miss Nunley as a co-host to my Zoom. So once she logs on, there's a little button over here that would say more, and I would click more, and then I can just make Miss Nunley a host. So that way when I'm done with my 30-minute lesson, I make Miss Nunley a host, and then she does her 30-minute lesson after that. So that's kind of how we've been using Zoom to deliver instruction, and it's worked super well. The kids are not confused by when to be on or where they need to be on, and that was just a really cool feature that we just found at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, and just to kind of reiterate that, you know, if there's a point that you and your teammate are not in the building, maybe let's say that you're quarantined, this being co-host, it allows you to serve those kids without multiple links from different locations. So that's where we've seen it being the most effective, is when we're not together, that the kids are on and they're just switching over to us because I can log in using that same link and the kids do not have to go anywhere.
Absolutely. And then one thing that we wanted to share with you all, and we have this available to send as a PDF after we're finished, is these visual cue cards. And
let's see if I can.
And we've said through the whole thing that visuals are so important to us, and it's really helpful to just have these cards on hand and hold them up rather than stopping your whole Zoom, stopping your instruction and saying, hey, Johnny, you're not paying attention. Can you give me your attention here? Or Xavier, your mic's not muted. Can you please mute your mic for us? So these cue cards are really awesome. And one of our teachers at school, she found them. I think they came from Teacher Pay Teacher.
Abby Rasnick.
Yes, yeah, so she shared these with us, and we have these. If you want them to use for yours, we can share them with you after this is finished.
Yep, so it's just a slide of different things. I know that as, you know, SPED teachers, you might not have more than 4 or 5 in a Zoom or a Google Meet, but we know with some of our kiddos and the attention, at times we might. It doesn't matter if there's 2. I don't know. I definitely needed that coffee cup one this morning for mine. But, yeah, so we'll gladly share these. They're great. You can laminate them. I know some of our teachers have put them on popsicle sticks, and they've got them at hand to just hold them up, and they've been very successful, so we'll gladly share that. Those are the Zoom visual cue cards. So very handy. Just getting back in here.
And then, of course, you all know that the more plain and more simple your background is, the more attention you're going to get on just you and what you're saying. So if you're in your classroom, find a white wall, find a blank wall. Zoom has a feature where you can put a virtual wall behind you, but just make sure that your background is not distracting. There's not too many things to look at, and that really helps our kiddos as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as far as, and I'll just call myself out, the whole keep your background plain. Perfect example of that, and we all know we mess up as teachers. Today I had to work from my parents' house because my Wi-Fi is really bad, and one of the kids, we got to zoom it out. One of the kids said, Miss Nunley, let me see that dog. So of course the dog was showing up passing by, and then he was like, Miss Nunley, why do you have so many lighthouses on your wall? And I was thinking, keep it simple, Nunley, remember. So it was just a distraction to everything. Okay, next, are we zoomed in? What did Katie say?
I think it's fixed now. Are we zoomed in, guys? Let us know if it's messed up in the chat and we'll fix it.
Okay, live instruction, which we had fun with this. So this is outside. Let's see. How do you check this? You're good now. Thanks, right. Katie. Katie, love you. You're amazing. Okay, so this is our actual outside of our door, and we have a light switch that came from the dollar store was probably, I mean, maybe $2, if that. It's super bright, but one of our teachers likes to complain about it jokingly that it's just too bright. But you flip that on, so when you are recording a video for a kid, or if you're in a Zoom meeting, Rachel and I, we just flip this light on. Now I will add to that, make sure when you are done with your recording or your Zoom that you turn your light switch off, because we hadn't seen or heard from anyone the other day until about 2 in the afternoon, because everyone thought we were just literally recording all day long. So no one opened our door, which was kind of nice. It was quiet. But they eventually, someone came in and said, your light's been on since 9 o'clock. We were like, oh, we forgot our light. But it does keep people out, and it reduces your distractions. If you are a heavily trafficked area, which sped teachers are, we've got kids coming in and out, teachers coming out with questions. So the dollar store light was a hit for us.
Yes, and I pulled just a few examples off of Teacher Pay Teacher that were free, that you can download and use however you'd like, whatever works best for you. But we certainly don't want to spend 30 minutes filming a video for someone to come in and say something crazy and have to delete the video and start over again. So these are really helpful as well. All right, so a few things that I want to show you that I use technology-wise to deliver instruction. And I don't know how many of you all have access to these things, but if you do, they're on here, and hopefully you guys can learn something from them. And if there's something that you don't see on here that you use, please share that as well, because we would love to learn more, and I'm sure everyone else on there would too. So one thing that I want to point out first is the Smart Notebook, and it's been super helpful for me delivering instruction virtually and in class. And the way that I use this is I have a smartboard in my room, and I know a lot of people do, and the smartboard app is on my computer that can plug in from there. And what I do is I use what's called Snip and Sketch. And I will pull things from teacher assignments, whether it be a test, a quiz, or just a classwork assignment that they have for the day. And I will use this Snip and Sketch to pull something from there and paste it into the Smart Notebook. And then once I have the Smart Notebook up, this eliminates any need for a document camera if you don't have one or you don't like using one. This eliminates all need for a document camera, because I can click up here, I can highlight, I can text, I can write, and I just use a mouse to do that. Everything is on the computer without me having to switch back and forth from anything. And I just keep this Smart Notebook up the whole time, and I can save it and use it for my next group. And this has really helped me a lot. So let me show you the Snip and Sketch. I think it's one of the most helpful things that we have found this year.
Yeah.
And Laura just learned about it too, and she's loving it. So what we have downloaded onto our computer is the Snip and Sketch app. So you can use the Snip and Sketch app. You can download it to your computer. So once you click on it, you'll click New up here in the top, and I can take anything off of this screen. So if I wanted this picture of me and Laura,
that's fantastic.
I can pull this picture up, and then once it's on here, all I have to do is I can hit either save or copy. So I can copy this, and I can paste it into anything that I need to, whether it be a Google Doc, whether it be Google Slides, the Smart Notebook, like I said, that I've been using it a lot for. So I can pull teacher questions, and I'll talk about that a little bit when I get to the accommodations and modifications of how I use that for my students. But it has been amazing for me to be able to do that. Or if I'm using a Google form or an assessment on Schoology that needs a picture, I can Snip and Sketch that picture from anything that I want to, and I can post just what I need from that. And that has been super helpful for me.
Yeah, it's really been helpful for me too. I've been able to kind of show my 5th grader how to use it. So it's helped him with assignments as well. And just to kind of also to follow up the Smart Notebook program, if you have a smartboard in your classroom, then you should have Smart Notebook on your computer. Yes. They do go hand in hand. So double check, because she uses it all the time.
Yeah, and it just really is helpful, because in a hybrid model, or like we are now, where we're able to serve students for an hour a week, it helps because I can use it in my classroom or I can use it virtually.
Oh.
All right, so one other thing that we have that we've been using and a lot of people in our school have been using is Kami. And this just makes any PDF fillable, or it makes it to where they can highlight, they can write. It's got a read aloud option on it. So Kami has been great. And a lot of classroom teachers have used it as well. And you can download it as an extension to Google Chrome. So we just add that as an extension. Any PDF, any worksheet that I have, I can scan it in from our school scanner, and then I can upload it through Kami, and it makes it a fillable assignment. It just reduces the amount of paper traffic that we have sending back and forth to our students, eliminates the germs of worksheets sharing back and forth. So Kami is great. And then one thing that our school has purchased for us that has been wonderful, or there's a free version. The free version just doesn't have as much airtime on it, but it's called Screencastify. And Screencastify is what I've been using anytime that I film any sort of video, whether it be an instructional video or just uploading a video of assignments that shows the students how to get to their assignments or their instructions on assignments. So it's called Screencastify, and it's a Google Chrome extension, so it's always on top of my screen at all times, and all I have to do is click record, and it records videos and saves them into a file on my Google Drive, which is super handy because it's always there.
And my husband gave me permission to say this, but he uses Screencastify, and he's a PE teacher, and he's not very tech savvy, and he's very successful. So if he can use it, we all can use it.
Absolutely. So Screencastify has been really awesome. And it shows your screen and what you're doing, kind of like how I'm doing right now, where I'm sharing this screen with you. And you can see as I'll move on it does the same thing in Screencastify. And it saves better than recording in Zoom does. So if you record your Zoom meet, it just saves better. It's a smaller file and it's easier to upload, whether it be email or Google Drive, or if you're putting it on your Google Classroom or your Schoology, it just saves really easy, really small, and it uploads quickly. So that's been really helpful as well.
Also, another thing for Kami, it's a good way to maybe if you're sending IEPs virtually to classroom teachers, for them to be able to mark and kind of highlight or note some things, or maybe goals that they've been working with and they've mastered. It allows them to kind of put some markings and edits on, and then they can send it right back to you, and you can put it into your IEP system. So our next one is inclusion versus resource. How is that even, how do we make that possible being virtual? Well, so I don't know if you guys felt like how we did, but we took all of our kids' IEPs and we noticed that their services said 60 minutes of inclusion math services, 60 minutes of reading resource, one-on-one. And we basically had to say, okay, we're not throwing this out the window, but we have to find a happy medium to serve our kids the best that we can during this virtual era, and we have to make it successful. We know that more than ever, our kids are struggling. They're going to come in behind. They're going to be, trying to stay afloat, even though they already have been. So how can we kind of keep them on track while we're apart? So just some things that we do is on Mondays and Fridays, we make sure that when we talk to our students that we discuss, hey, how's it going in your Google Classroom for your classroom teachers, and what can we do to help? Every Monday and Friday, Rachel goes through and she checks all the Google Classrooms of the math teachers that she works with, and she follows up with that objective or the assignments so they have extra practice with it. Just being able to provide those modifications through Zoom and just having that one-on-one time. We have a kid on Mondays and Fridays, it's just one-on-one, and he basically can say, hey, Miss Van Dyke, we're doing long division, let's work on, I'm struggling. So, they're able to take some of our inclusion kids and have resource with them while we're virtual. So we've, seen some of our kids that have always been in, a bigger group setting just really make great gains through virtual by having a one-on-one opportunity with us. And that's one thing we've just kind of felt has been successful is one-on-one with even the kiddos that are close to grade level. We make sure that, it's almost just like a lot of our services we're providing virtually are for just that support, just to just kind of reiterate what their classroom teachers are doing. And that's really helped them to know that, hey, yeah, I am responsible for my classroom teachers' work, but I know that Miss Nunley and Miss Van Dyke are right there on Mondays and Fridays to help me if I have any questions. So one thing that we would recommend is, even if you have kids that you feel might not need that resource service during this time because they are doing well, we recommend just a consult time with them twice a week, just to double check and support them for classroom assignments. And classroom teachers appreciate that as well.
Mm-hmm. So just sit down and look at what your student services are currently, what their goals and what their objectives are in their IEP, and kind of decide, what do I need to do during this virtual learning to help this specific student? It's very student specific. So like we've talked about before, we have some students that receive sole instruction from us, and that would be the resource. And then we have very many who are just inclusion, where I provide and Ms. Nunley provides those reinforcer lessons, that supplemental instruction. They're completing mostly grade level work with our accommodations and modifications.
And we do have a couple of resource kiddos that are, well below grade level. And we do have to provide instruction for that. And that's been fun for us, being able to just create it on our own, and just to be able to provide that, to take it off of classroom teachers' hands. So, we have a little bit of both, but we are seeing that right now, even through Zoom, just making time, even if it's 15, 20 minutes for one kid at a time, has been very beneficial. Just some modifications, and I know that we are 5 minutes left, and I know we got a late start, but we do want to open it up for questions because, we want to hear from you guys as well. Some things that we've used, which we've already talked about for accommodations, get Snip and Sketch, allowing them to preview the tests and the quizzes. We do modify, now that we have access to Google Classrooms, it allows us to modify assignments, and that's been very helpful for classroom teachers as well. I don't know if your county or school uses Epic. Epic is a great read aloud extension, our website that we use. And if your school does AR, it provides AR tests for them as well. I know that I have a second grader who is always worried about taking an AR test, and she knows that Epic allows her to be able to stay on track with AR. So highly recommend. We've also been fortunate, which I'm sure you guys have them as well. Our activity teachers have been a huge support. They come in and they'll take a kiddo at a time to do brain breaks, sensory breaks, and into the gym. Our guidance teacher has been a huge help as far as sensory activities and things like that.
And they've also provided those online as well. So they provided ideas in their Google Classrooms for if a student cannot come in and they're working all day at home, ideas for brain breaks and sensory breaks that they can do at home with what they already have.
So we're going to we're going to rush it to the next one.
Yes, and you all can view this stuff. And if you go ahead and start posting any questions you have in the chat, when we finish showing you these, and you'll be able to see these later, we can kind of go through some of the questions that you all have that way as well.
These are two of the top two that I recommend for read aloud extensions. And I've also shared it. It's a hyperlink. You can click it and it's going to take you straight to download. They both are super easy to navigate. Highly recommend both. We also threw in, because we had kiddos, that have autism or have just, struggled with the changes that are happening in the world today. So one thing that we did is we took some social stories. And these came from our amazing friend, Katie Griffin. I think she's even on too. She is our self-contained multiple disability teacher, and she has found these for her kids. And we were like, we're taking those because our kids can use those as well. I have a nephew that uses them. That's really helped as he goes to school in North Carolina. They're super simple, but they're a visual, and it just helps kids to understand what the virus is, what it looks like. And then we have another one that is just very similar to it. as well, and it is in Cami, and you can edit it, and it's on there for you to use. But these were from Katie, and Katie is amazing at sharing her things with us as well. But this one is just about, why am I going to see other people wearing masks, and why do I have to wear a mask? And I think this is something that would be very beneficial to even our gen ed teachers when we go back to school, or the day that everybody starts back, if you haven't already. So I think that would be for everyone school-wide.
And this is just a quick activity posted in the middle that our guidance counselor found and shared with us, and we did it with our kiddos. I think it was last week, and you just kind of talk to them about, maybe give them an object to hold and place one on the table and say, which one of these do you have control of? And then you can just kind of go into, everything in my hand is what I have control of. Everything that is not in my hand, I do not have control of. And we kind of made this one to gear toward the virus, because a lot of them just really don't understand what's going on, or it's been drilled into them at home that you stay this many feet away, you wear your mask at all times, and then they see other students not doing that, and it's kind of like that panic of, why are they not doing what I'm doing? And this just kind of really helps with that. So feel free to use any of these ideas. They'll be hyperlinked for you.
I even use the middle one for my kiddo who's extremely anxious. I think this is a perfect thing to on. This makes us so happy.
So this our guidance counselor found, and she found it from another guidance counselor. And that's what we mean when we're saying use the resources that you have.
Guys, we hope if you didn't take anything from this, please, when we send this out, please take this virtual calming notebook. Let's go. Okay, so this has so many different cool things. I mean, for any kid. All right, let's go to the live camera. So this is one of our favorite things to do. So when we're at work and we're just like, oh, we have to write another addendum. Oh my goodness, we have a child study meeting. Oh my goodness, IEP Online's not working. We're like, all right, which animal are we just going to watch, for 5 minutes? It takes you straight to the live feeds at certain zoos. This is the San Diego Zoo link. You can watch the apes.
And we have done this. We caught ourselves one day 15 minutes in. We're like, man, we really need to get back to work, but that is super calming.
Yeah, don't tell our boss, but yeah, the other day, can we click on the polar bear? So this is a favorite. This is one that my daughter absolutely loves too. But if you're feeling stressed, you just go and you check out the panda, see what or the polar bear, see what he's up to for the day.
Absolutely. And within this, you will see things like that live camera, breathing techniques, stretching techniques. There's places to journal with journal ideas.
The lava lamp.
Places to draw. And you'll see, I think it's in the chill zone. This is a classroom full, absolutely stacked full of different sensory and break ideas. There's puzzles they can do. There's online coloring sheets they can do. And even you can take these and use these for if you have younger kids that need coloring assignments, these are wonderful. So absolutely take this and use it. It was shared with us and it's been amazing. Our kids love it. We love it. Super, super helpful.
And as far as that, this is a time, if you guys have any questions or anything that you want to share, or so Rachel's gonna, anything you want to add. Like I said, we are still trying to get the hang of things too, but we have been very blessed for just people sharing stuff with us, from Katie to our, PE teacher. So we're still kind of get the hang of it. And even though we know we're going back on October 12th, which we're so excited for, we know we're not going to have everybody there. And we know we're still going to be doing virtual things. So they're going to be there for us to use, at any time that we might need them.
So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. If you don't have one right now and you think of one later, we have put our email addresses on this. You can email, you can call, whatever you need. If there's something that you want to share with us, please do. Like we said, we don't have it all figured out, but we are making it work. So if you all have any questions for us, just let us know.
Other than that, Penny, I think that's it.
Well, what I would like to have the participants send me an email and tell me if they would like to continue and have another session with you all.
Awesome. Well, we did get a question, Penny, from Karen, and it just said, have you tried the read and write extension? That it's great. We have done, well, I have done the read and write, Karen, for one kiddo, and he keeps a Chromebook with him all the time, and he just transitioned to middle school, and he is the one kid that we've seen super successful with it. And then I really haven't thought about using it with others, but now I definitely need to pull it back out because you're absolutely right.
And this could be great for people like Katie Griffin, who works at our school, who is that center-based, who has that multiple disabilities. The student that Laura was referring to that she used it with, he couldn't really write anything on his own. So this was amazing for a kid like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely a great question, but thank you for reminding me of that, Karen, because that is a good one. Katie, you're amazing, and thank you for being a part of our team. You're awesome. But I think I guess the other thing too that we kind of thought about is keep your principal in the loop. Let them know what your kids need, what you need. Our principal is in the thick of everything with every one of our kids with an IEP. She has this beautiful folder with all of them and their services. And you know, I think whenever your administrator's in the middle of your special ed department, you're going to be successful. And just to end with it, teamwork makes the dream work. And it sounds super corny, but it's so true. We have a fantastic team, and just lean on your teammates during this hectic time, and just know that, you know, where you might not be able to do everything, a team together definitely can knock it out. So,
and Karen, thanks for sharing that with us. We're super excited to go back 4 days.
Yay, Karen!
We're hoping that makes things easier for us as well, and that's good hope for us.
Yes. So we hope everybody has a fantastic start back. And this is going to be recorded. If you missed the part of it at the front, or if it lost in and out, it is recorded. And Penny's going to help us get that out. But I think that's it.